Okay, welcome in, everybody. It is a glorious, glorious Monday. I am the coach. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us here, the Coach and Company podcast in partnership with Believe. And we do this every single weekday to kind of support the morning show, which is on Stadium, Bally Sports Live, Amazon Prime. We never go more than 20 or 30 minutes, and we usually pick 2 or 3 nuggets. Now, today, it was almost impossible to kind of condense it down after the weekend that we had in college football and in the NFL. By the way, we're going to be adding a lot of premium content coming up very, very soon. Every single morning, you get a separate episode already, and then we'll be starting our primetime shows. We want you guys to be a premium member as well. And our merch store is wide open. If you watch the show, QR codes all over the place. We want you repping the brand. Also, today, busy day. The schedule after the podcast here, we've got Off the Ropes with the Coach on Sirius XM, channel 156 from 2 to 4 Eastern time. Then at 5 p.m. Eastern time, it's the Coach and Bro Show, everything pro wrestling. And then at 6:45 p.m. Eastern time tonight, we will have the Monday Night Grind, breaking down not one, but 2 Monday Night Football games. Now, the NFL season, it's almost like you can stand on your head and the content just comes to you and makes it very, very easy. And if you are a sports fan, it's very easy to understand why the NFL is the number one sport in America. College football is a close second, because what we saw over the weekend was nothing short of amazing. Let's start with Georgia, Tennessee. This was a game and a series that Georgia had dominated, that they're down 8 points. They were down the entire game. Joey Aguilar was the toast of the town. A 4th down and 6 or 7, down 8. Tennessee getting ready to rush the field. They had lost 8 straight since 2016 by double digits in this rivalry. And what do? They throw a fade to the end zone. Over the head, over the shoulder catch was amazing in itself. Then they run a 2-point conversion, easy conversion, and they go 38-38, I believe was the score at that point. And then they end up winning in overtime by 3. They scored a touchdown. So Georgia, huge win on the road. If you're Tennessee, these are the type of games in college, guys, that can become mentally debilitating. That you look back and say, man, why couldn't we get up in the next game and the next game and the next game? Well, it's because we put everything in to the Georgia game and it still wasn't good enough. For some reason, the football gods will not shine down on Rocky Top when it comes to Georgia. And now with 12 teams in the playoffs, you're looking at last year, halfway through the season, we're talking about 5 or 6 teams. Then they started beating each other, and then there were some bad performances. And I think ultimately we got, 3 last year? Well, right now, if I'm looking at the SEC as far as teams that are good enough, well, certainly Georgia. I think Alabama had a wake-up call week 1 against Florida State. So I think they're a really good team. They've blown out the last 2 bad teams, but they've looked great. Williams, the wide receiver for Alabama, is going to be the next big NFL star at that position. Ole Miss had a win over Arkansas, almost gave that one up late. Lane Kiffin is as entertaining on the sidelines as any coach in America. And he's what a player coach I think would look like if they existed. I really, really do. So the SEC right now, I think they're the dominant conference once again, but I think the Big Ten's right there. You got Ohio State. Michigan had a big win. By the way, Oklahoma, they went to Temple. I don't even know why they're playing Temple, to be honest with you, but they blow out Temple. They covered the 24.5-point spread. But Oklahoma has arguably the toughest schedule in all of college football. So the next few weeks are going to be very, very interesting. I can't wait for action, by the way, because they've moved it up. So we're going to have Tuesdays and Wednesdays this year. So we'll be doing primetime, live betting, baseball playoffs, all that kind of good stuff. Now, Sunday, I would love for you guys to send me on social media or anywhere else what your favorite storyline was, because I can't remember a weekend or a Sunday that had more crazy finishes, high scoring. 10 out of, I believe, 13 games went to the over. 8 out of 9 early on on Sunday. Then the 4:00 games, the Broncos game went over, the Cardinals game went over miraculously, and then the Chiefs and the Eagles went to the under. Then last night was an under. So 3 unders, the rest all overs yesterday. Now, the announcers in the Giants-Cowboys game are exactly what I talk about all the time. You have Greg Olson that, again, the football gods thank you for sending him to that game because they had Tom Brady on the Eagles Chiefs. Now, I think Tom Brady's getting better, but he's not Greg Olson. Greg Olson was the number one guy until Tom Brady came, and then he's the number two guy. But yesterday, they were saying things like, we haven't seen this from Russell Wilson in years. This is vintage Russell Wilson. Who would have thought after what we saw against the Commanders that they could come out and score 37 after scoring 6? It was all love until the overtime when they get the ball back just over 2 minutes to play. And it should have been either we win or we tie. But instead, inexplicably, he throws a classic Russell Wilson rainbow. And the only person back there was a Cowboys defensive back. So you're going to give the Cowboys 2 minutes to drive the length of the field. Oh, no, they didn't do that. They drove about 20 yards to set up a game winning, and then they had that long play. So the game winner was shorter. In regulation, when Russell Wilson was the toast of the town, and he dropped in a beautiful one to Neighbors with 59 seconds to go, and the Giants were going to win on the road. Well, then here comes Dak Prescott, and to me, it's crazy pants to play for a 60-yard plus field goal. But that's what they did. They didn't try to throw it down the field. They didn't try to get any farther down the field. They tried to set it up on the hash that he wanted for Aubrey. A 64-yard field goal that would have been good from 70. This is a guy that if you get to midfield, you legitimately, for the first time in the history of the league, have a chance to win the game. All you have to do is get to midfield. It used to be you got to get to the 35 or you got to get to the 30. It's got to be 50 yards or less. Not anymore. And then in Indianapolis, they did the same thing. They were down 2, and instead of trying to get it down the field with Daniel Jones, they ran it, and they set up for a 60-yard field goal, which he missed, by the way, because you do your homework. And the announcers even said it. This kicker has never in his NFL career made a field goal over 50 yards, ever. So a Broncos player not thinking, and if I'm some of these head coaches right now, I'm sitting my teams down today, and I am tearing into that ass because there are some stupid plays being made that are costing teams games. The Broncos, there's a rule that everybody knows. I know it. The 8-year-old little football player in Little League knows it. You cannot jump over the center on a field goal because that's just a rule, and they made it several years ago. And this guy from the Broncos tried to block the kick from 60 yards by jumping over the center. It's a penalty, 15 yards. They get to re-kick after the miss, 45 yards right down the middle. That was crazy. Are you out of here? All right, text me. You want steak tonight? I do have homecoming halftime practice after 2 years, so I'll be home at 6. Perfect. I'll be ready. I love you. All right, see you. This is my gorgeous daughter heading to her senior year of high school. Where has the time gone? Other big-time storylines instead of the Giants, the Broncos losing. What about Detroit? Detroit was a preseason. Can they still be good enough to go back to the Super Bowl? Do they have what it takes losing their offensive and defensive coordinators? Well, they did not look good in week number 1 against the Packers. Yesterday against the Bears, well, they got right. 52-21, 5 touchdown passes from Jared Goff. They improved to 1-1. Breaking news this morning from Adam Schefter. Joe Burrow just seems to be snake bitten, and I feel bad for him. And I don't feel bad for the Bengals, though, because this is one franchise. You're always led by your leader. And what does your leader do? Well, the owner has been notoriously cheap, even though it's a league where everybody's making billions and there is a salary cap. But he still doesn't want to spend money. So he'll nickel and dime. He'll keep the stars, but it's never quite good enough to go all the way. But they have a franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow, who is a great community guy. He's a great team guy. He's a great leader. And he goes down again. He has to have surgery on turf toe. He's going to be out, they're saying, a minimum of 3 months, which will take us into the middle of December. So essentially, it's a season-ending injury because I seriously doubt that Jake Browning is going to lead the Bengals to the playoffs, although they are 2-0. They are in first place in the division, but how long will that last? How good can Jake Browning be, even though he's played for the Bengals for a while? The other story from this, and I love the drama. I love when there's a little bit of spats going on. And Liam Cohen, the head coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars, got into it with Trevor Lawrence. When Trevor Lawrence missed a game-winning touchdown pass, he starts banging his chest, and Trevor Lawrence gave him the shut up sign, the go away sign. I can't remember the last time a quarterback did that. And Liam Cohen admitted after the game he was upset that Trevor Lawrence didn't make the good pass, didn't hit him in the chest, and he acted out in the moment. When you have a franchise quarterback that you're paying north of $200 million a year, you have to get along. They're not getting away. His guarantees are way too high to go, yeah, no, Trevor Lawrence, he's got an attitude problem. No, that'll be a head coaching problem. Because if one of those two is going, it's not Trevor Lawrence. And they fall to 1-1 after a win over the Carolina Panthers in week number 1. What about the Rams? They get to open their season against the Texans and then yesterday against the Titans. And they went on the road to Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, USA. They score 33 points, although they were down at halftime 13-10. They outscored the Titans 23-6 in the second half. Matthew Stafford, nearly 300 yards passing, 2 scores. Devontae Adams, 6 catches, 106 yards. So the Rams are now 2-0, and they lead the NFC West. The Dolphins, they're an issue. They give up 33 to the Patriots. They do score 27, but they fall to 0-2. Mike McDaniel says, hey, it's all good. It's all good. Don't even worry about us. We got it. We got it. Don't even worry about us. So we'll see how long he lasts. I know the odds. My guy Raphael makes odds all the time for random things. Right now, in week 3, week 2, it seems a little early to do who's going to get fired odds. But when you play like that, when you look like that, when the Colts beat you by 25 in week 1, you give up 33. Actually, they give up 33 twice because the Colts scored 33 as well. Shout out to the 49ers. They're also tied with the Rams at 2-0 in the NFC West. They beat the Saints on the road. Saints, for the second week in a row, had a chance to tie or go ahead. And once again, Spencer Rattler gets sacked at the end of the game, doesn't even get to throw off. So the Saints fall to 0-2, even though they had a chance to win both games. How about the workmanlike performances of Sunday? Talking about the Bills and the Ravens, the two teams that combined for 81 points in week number 1. Well, yesterday, the Bills, 30-10, and it was obvious. They were not going to put Josh Allen in harm's way. They were not going to run him very much. He had one long run for 40 yards, finished with 60. But this was a James Cook day, north of 130 yards, and Justin Fields and the Jets looked pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. They did not score their touchdown until late in the fourth quarter. That was one of the 3 games that did not go to the over yesterday, and that was one of my best bets. So thank you, Buffalo, and thank you, Jets, for sucking. Speaking of sucking, Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, who beat the Jets in week number 1, they had their home opener. Everybody's hyped. Home crowd was jacked. In comes the Seattle Seahawks, Sam Darnold. And they basically dominated them, 31-17. Sam Darnold, a really good game. And it's unfortunate for him because last year he had a great first, 13 or 14 games, and then laid an egg into the playoffs. So everybody's like, okay, he is who we thought he was. Maybe not, because he's looked fairly decent in their first 2 games, almost beating San Francisco and then beating Pittsburgh on the road by 14 points. So congratulations to them. Now, the workmanlike to go along with Buffalo was the Ravens. When they score 41 points week number 2, 40 in week number 1, you think there's some incredible numbers. No, they clearly said, we're just going to do enough to win, and then some crazy things happen. Lamar Jackson had 2 carries for 13 yards. Derrick Henry had 23 yards on the ground. Neither one of those guys, their 2 biggest weapons, did anything. And they still scored 41 points. And if you're the Cleveland Browns, how do you tell me that Joe Flacco or Dillian Gabriel, when you're a team that stinks, is going to put more butts in seats than if you have Shadir Sanders under center at quarterback? If I'm Shadir Sanders, I'm pissed. I'm not even a storyline. And I want to play for a team that gives me a chance to play. Now, it's never a bad thing if you're a rookie quarterback to sit and to watch. Rarely does a quarterback start when they're a rookie, although Cam Ward is starting. But guys like Jordan Love, set for 2 or 3 years. Then when he comes in, he's ready. And sometimes a player doesn't want to sit, but it can be the best thing for them whenever you're talking about at the quarterback position. So they scored 17. They're 0-2. They lost to the Bengals in week 1. Another long year for the Browns, who, let's not forget, they're still paying Deshaun Watson $50 million a year, something like that. Boy, they can't wait for that contract to get off the books. I think that's pretty much it. And then the Super Bowl rematch really didn't look like two Super Bowl teams. I've got a lot of thoughts from a fan standpoint because I love my Kansas City Chiefs, but from a just analyzing the game, the one thing that's hard for fans, but not necessarily as reporters or anchors or sports people, is to admit when your team has crossed over into we're getting old, we're not as good as we used to be, and maybe even Patrick Mahomes has regressed a little bit. I don't think so. I just think the talent around him, Travis Kelce, and I don't care who you are, when you become 35, 36, 37 years of age, you would be hard pressed to find a tight end and or a wide receiver in the league that keeps up the speed they had when they were in their 20s. And Travis Kelce clearly has lost a step. And yesterday, his drop pass that turned into an interception at the goal line, which was a perfect throw from Patrick Mahomes, that changed the entire game. That would have given them the lead. Instead, take it back the other way. And by the way, I'm not one to complain about this thing, but I cannot stand the tush push. And the only fan base in America that can is the Eagles fan base because they all say, hey, stop it. Stop it. It's not a play to have 2 or 3 people behind you pushing you into the line. That is rugby. This is football. And at some point, they either need to outlaw it or the officials need to actually call the false starts that happen on every single tush push. The touchdown that was scored by Jalen Hurts had 2 false starts. The 2 guards start before the ball is being snapped, but you can't see it because there's so many bodies in there. So they got to figure out something or pass where you can challenge it and go back and look at the tape because it was obvious. And that would have backed them up 5, and then they would have had to kick a field goal, and then that changes the whole game. They go up 6 instead of 10. So there's a lot to unpack there. But when it comes to Travis Kelce, it's really hard when you become more well known for your relationship than you do for what you're doing on the football field. And I don't feel sorry for him because when football's over and it's such a small time, he's going to be set up. And money's not everything. I get that, but it sure does make life a little bit easier. And when you're dating and going to marry a billionaire, Travis Kelce is going to be okay. So it becomes about legacy. I remember years ago when I worked for Vince McMahon. He was a billionaire, and I asked him one day. I said, "Why do you still come to all these shows? Why do you feel the need to? You got all this money, you can do whatever you want." And he looked right at me. He says, "Coach, because you need purpose. There's got to be a reason that you get out of bed in the morning, whatever that reason is for you. But counting money in a bank account doesn't get me excited. Signing the deals to get that money, that gets me excited. Having the shows and having the talent and having everything that goes with it, that gets me excited. But actually sitting at home and looking at my bank account does nothing for me." And I think that for Travis Kelce, his purpose has always been football. And now he is locked into a podcast that they make $33 million a year doing. Do I think they've mailed it in a little bit? Yeah. But that's natural. Whenever you get the money up front, what's the motivation? They got Taylor on the show. That brought in millions and millions and millions of views. However, if I'm Kelce, now I'm forced to do my podcast during the NFL season. How do you think he's feeling today? He knocked Xavier Worthy out of the game, his own teammate, in week number 1, and he drops a go-ahead touchdown, perfect pass at the goal line that turned into a interception. And then he's going nuts on the sideline. I'm sick of this shit. I want this. I'm pumping it. And I really feel like at this point, there are things that he needs to handle. I listened to Zeno last night. No, I do. Bruce, by the way, thank you. Bruce, I see you in the chat. I like the under actually in the first game. I do like the over in the second game. But I think the first game is going to be a lot like the Falcons and the Vikings last night. I think it's going to be a quick game. I think that the Bucks are going to try to get in and get out. I think they know that the Texans will not pose a big threat offensively, so I like the under 42.5. By the way, Bruce, we have a show at 6:45 Eastern tonight. I would love for you to come and check that out. We'll be breaking down the early game at 6:45 and then the late game a little bit after the top of the hour. So we'll have all that kind of stuff. But thank you, Bruce, for coming in and asking that question. I certainly do appreciate it. So back to Kelsey for a minute. I was listening to Zeno last night on ESPN radio, and he was talking about something that I talked about a year ago. And everybody said, Coach, you're crazy. It doesn't matter. And what I talked about a year ago is that Travis Kelsey very clearly was a step or two slower. And he even addressed it in the offseason by losing 35 or 40 pounds. Said he was reinvigorated. He said he was now recommitted after the Super Bowl debacle. And it's hard when you're dating the most famous person on planet Earth. It's hard when there are so many other fun things, but yet she lives in New York and Nashville and Florida, and you live in Kansas City. And so you want to give that relationship the time. But here's the problem. Last year, he was traveling to Japan, to Australia, to England, to all these different places that anybody would have done that, except he's a Super Bowl champion, except he's in the limelight. And instead, he's known for football, not for dating Taylor Swift. But now it's got to piss him off when I wouldn't even turn the TV on. I would not turn on local radio because every sports show in Kansas City is going to be talking about this. Is that when you're a leader, you're a captain, you're a guy that's played for 13 years, you make almost $20 million a year as a tight end, they want you to be productive. They want you to be the guy you were 3 or 4 years ago, but he's not. And now for Patrick Mahomes, Hollywood gets a little bit hurt yesterday. Xavier's in street clothes. Rashee Rice is benched, suspended for the first 6 games. By the time he gets back, we may be completely out of it. They're 0-2, but the good thing is they go to the Giants for Sunday Night Football this week. So, but Travis Kelsey is really going to have to sit down with his boo thing, and he's going to say, you know what? Maybe for these next 14 weeks, 15 weeks, we just kind of keep everything low key. I stay here in Kansas City. You go do your thing. If you want to be here, awesome. But I've got to focus because he's going to regret it when he gets down the road, and people are not talking about the 3 Super Bowl championships, but they're talking about, well, those last 2 years when he was dating Taylor and he did nothing on the football field, that's what I remember. And he doesn't want that. So we'll see. We'll see. But at 0-2, this is a place that Patrick Mahomes is very unfamiliar with. And hopefully he does what he's done every other time in his career. He goes out, he shows out, and they get right back into it. All right, do not forget full schedule today. You guys know, follow me at The Coach Rules on Twitter. Every time I start a show, I tweet it out. Also, if you guys don't mind, if you could subscribe to our coaching company YouTube page and our BTT YouTube page, I would really appreciate it. And we have a ton of content at both places. That's going to do it for now. We'll be back tomorrow morning breaking down everything on Monday Night Football, and we immediately start our look ahead to week number 3. For Producer Man behind the scenes, I am the coach. You see all that stuff on the side of the screen. We want you to join everything. It's worth every dime. And also, if you guys buy that Model My Ass t-shirt or the Chapel Bill t-shirt or anything else, send us a picture. We'll throw it up onto the show. Kevin says the Chiefs will get it turned around. Kevin, I hope so. I'm resigned to the fact that they might not, because every year we have a little bit of an obstacle. We figure it out. Well, at some point, we're not going to figure it out. And it's really, really hard to watch this team play through the first 2 weeks. But we'll get there. And Kevin, by the way, publicly, thank you for those 5 memberships you gifted last night. That's how we do it here at Coaching Company. If you have a good week, gift it to somebody else, and then they can be a part of the premium content, which we are going to be ramping up very, very soon. So, Kevin, thank you very much. All right, that's going to do it for now. I got to get ready for my Sirius XM show. Everybody, enjoy yourselves. We really appreciate the support, and we'll see you this afternoon on Off the Ropes with the Coach, 2 to 4 Eastern time. Don't forget, right here on this YouTube channel, the Weekday Wagers guys, DG and the crew, our afternoon show at 2 Eastern time as well. All right, Producer Man, I'm the coach. We'll see you guys this afternoon. This is Coaching Company, the podcast. Take care.